So there's going to be another fight about funding the government again. And as usual, they can't seem to pass an actual annualized budget. So they're going to argue about another continuing resolution, which would fund the government for 6 months. And as usual, what you get is the Democrats claiming that the tax cuts, if extended, will benefit billionaires, as usual, much more so and disproportionate to the average person. And Republicans are saying exactly the opposite. So somebody's lying. Then again, you'll have economists telling you, oh, no, they're both right. You can have it both ways. No, you can't. It's one way or the other. And I would ask you to ask yourself, historically, who has been the beneficiary in terms of tax policy and tax cuts? Is it you and I, the little guy? Or is it the billionaire class and the mega corporations that reap most of those rewards? I would argue that it has benefited the billionaires and the megacorps. And I would also argue that any reasonable person would have to agree with that statement. It always seems to be a case that the billionaire class, and I'm including Wall Street and the megacorps and all those, that they get the lion's share of the wealth and you and I get the scraps. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. You tell me. I don't think I'm wrong, but you may think I'm wrong. So tell me if you think I'm wrong. In the meantime, let's take a look at some of the stuff in the news. Maybe that'll help us figure it out. More dysfunction. Reverse Robin Hood scam or a windfall for middle class. Lawmakers debate Trump tax plan extensions. Republicans and Democrats are making competing claims about the impact of extending provisions in the Tax Cuts and Job Acts. They're making competing claims. I say this, you say that, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, ping-pong, ping-pong, ping-pong. The GOP sees it as a windfall for low and middle class Americans. Democrats view it as a handout for the wealthiest Americans. Both sides can be correct depending on your frame of reference, according to tax experts. Well, I'm calling bullshit on that. Both sides cannot be correct. One side or the other is going to be correct. And if I had to bet, I'm going to bet that it's going to be more of a reverse Robin Hood scam than a windfall for middle class Americans. But that's just my cynical take on it. So you can, tell me I'm wrong, prove me wrong. Who benefits depends on your frame of reference. You can't have it both ways. It's going to be one or the other. You cannot promise everything to everybody, give everybody a tax cut, and that's just not going to work. That's what's led us to the $36.5 trillion deficit or, debt that we're carrying. It just doesn't work. I mean, come on. Representative Richard Neal, Democrat from Massachusetts, ranking member of the House Ways and Means Tax Committee, said Wednesday that Republicans' policy plan, central to which is an extension of the Trump tax cuts, estimated to cost more than $4 trillion, amounts to a reverse Robin Hood scam that gives to the rich and takes from the poor. So that kind of sums up the Democratic argument. Costs more than $4 trillion. But then again, the other side, the Republicans would argue, well, we're going to cut the deficit and spending by $4 trillion, so it'll wash. Okay. Maybe they're right, maybe they're not. Republicans say low and middle income households stand to win under the plan. Extending the Trump tax cuts delivers the biggest relief to working class Americans and small businesses in a generation, according to Representative Jason Smith, a Republican from Missouri, who's the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, and he said that on Tuesday. Experts say both sides' arguments have merit. The interesting thing is both can be true depending on how you interpret what they're saying. According to James Hines, a law and economics professor. That just is so typical of an economics professor to say, both can be true. It just depends on how you look at it, how you interpret it. I mean, what a bunch of bullshit. Come on now. It's going to be one way or it's going to be the other way. Both are not true, and it's going to be, it's going to be not good for me and you people. That's just the fact of the matter. So, get ready. House Republicans unveil bill to avoid government shutdown, and they're daring Democrats to oppose it. Wow. Sounds scary. I dare you. I dare you. Come on, get some. I dare you to oppose it. It's always like that with these people. Can't we all just get along? Come on, man. Ooh, he looks mad. Very serious. Why so serious? House Republicans unveil a spending bill Saturday that would keep federal agencies funded through September 30th. 6 months. That's the best they can do. 6 months at a time. Okay. Pushing ahead with a go-it-alone strategy. They're going to go it alone because Democrats and Republicans can't seem to get their act together and work together for the benefit of the country. They're always working for themselves, their own party, their own constituents, their own state, their own, whatever. It's like, wow. So here we go again. Congress must act by midnight Friday to avoid a partial government shutdown. It's going to shut down. Yeah, it'll shut down. That's my prediction. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Speaker Mike Johnson, the Republican from Louisiana, is teeing up the bill for a vote on Tuesday despite the lack of buy-in from Democrats, essentially daring them to vote against it and risk a shutdown. He also is betting the Republicans can muscle the legislation through the House by themselves. I'm going to get it through all by my onesie. I don't need the Democrats. We don't have to work together. We can be my side and your side, this side, that side, blah, 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 blah. Wow, it's always like that. Does anybody else feel like cannon fodder here, like you're just stuck in the middle between all these douchebags? Sorry for my language. The measure also will not include funding requested by individual lawmakers for thousands of community projects around the country, often referred to as earmarks. You can replace earmark with pork, waste, special interest. I'm not worried about the budget. All I'm worried about is getting free shit to my constituents, and so that I get reelected. That's the translation. But Republicans noted that it would provide for the largest pay increase to junior enlisted service members in more than 40 years. Okay, I guess that's a good thing. Yay. And it included an additional $500 million for a nutritional assistance program for women, infants, and young children. $500 million for nutritional assistance programs. I mean, at face value, how can you argue with that? That's a good thing, right? Question is, how much of that $500 million gets siphoned off? And, how much of that $500 million actually gets passed along to the person that actually needs the help? I'm going to say some percentage of it, but certainly not all of it. We are voting no, said a trio of House Democrat leaders, including Rep. Hakeem Jeffries. Shocker. Anybody shocked? Yeah? No? Maybe? Okay. Murray said the legislation would give Donald Trump and Elon Musk more power over federal spending and more power to pick winners and losers. Pick winners and losers. There you go. There's the key takeaway. Who's going to be the winner? Who's going to be the loser? I'm guessing Wall Street's going to be the winners and me and you are going to be the losers. Prove me wrong. Maine Senator Susan Collins, who heads the Senate Appropriations Committee, said the focus must be on preventing a shutdown because closures have negative consequences all across government. Duh. They require certain essential government employees, such as Border Patrol agents, members of our military and Coast Guard, TSA screeners, and air traffic controllers. You know, we don't need to have an issue with air traffic controllers because apparently planes are just crashing, crashing and falling out of the sky left, right, and center, hard as they can go. So, yeah, let's don't do that. Oh, boy. Yeah. So she goes on to say, we cannot allow that to occur. Okay. Representative Ralph Norman, Republican from South Carolina, he doesn't like CRs. That's a continuing resolution. But what's the alternative? Negotiate with Democrats? No. Of course not. Shock face. Republicans are also hoping that resolving this year's spending will allow them to devote their full attention to extending Trump's tax cuts and raising the nation's debt limit to avoid a catastrophic federal default. They want to devote their full attention to extending Trump's tax cuts. Okay. I mean, who's going to complain about a tax cut, right? Question is, who's going to get that tax cut? Is it going to be me and you, or is it going to be Wall Street? Come on now. Wall Street is going to get the lion's share of that, and you're going to get the crumbs. Okay, just saying. Sorry. Catastrophic federal default. You hear these people? Wow. Okay. Extending Trump tax cuts would add $4.6 trillion to the deficit. That's according to the CBO, Congressional Budget Office. So, this article starts out by saying that the CBO is nonpartisan. Meanwhile, Senator Whitehouse, a Democrat from Rhode Island, and Senator Whedon, Democrat from Oregon, are quoted as saying, well, actually, this would be, who's this quote from? Whitehouse. Republicans are awfully eager to shield their mega donors from paying taxes. Remember when Republicans held our entire economy hostage, demanding cuts to IRS enforcement so they couldn't go after wealthy tax cheats? Remember the Trump tax scam, cutting taxes for billionaires and big corporations? Now they're set on extending those tax cuts, even though it would blow up the deficit. The Trump tax cuts were a gift to the ultra-rich and a rotten deal for American families and small businesses. With their impending expiration, we have a chance to undo the damage, fix our corrupted tax code, and have big corporations and the ultra-wealthy begin to pay their fair share. So, the important part to that, in my opinion, is fix our corrupted tax code, because our tax code is corrupted. There's just no question about that. It's just, like, I don't know, how many pages is the tax law? I think last time I checked, it was like over 4,000 pages. I mean, I think it started out at like 10 pages. Now it's over 4,000. So, yeah, that's an issue. According to the Institute on Tax and Economic Policy, extending the Trump tax cuts would create $112.6 billion windfall for the top 5% of income earners in the first year alone. The richest 5% of Americans would reap 40% of the benefits from the law's extension in the first year alone. More than the bottom 80%. Winners and losers, people. Picking winners and losers. Yep. Making this legislation one of the most regressive and expensive tax giveaways in history, the average taxpayer in the top 1% would save nearly $26,000 in just 2026, primarily from cuts to the estate tax and on taxes paid by pass-through businesses. So, do you believe that? Do you not believe that? That's one opinion. I think the important part we have to focus on here is our corrupted tax code, because it seems to be if you're a billionaire, you get all the loopholes, and if you're a lower income earner, you damn well better make sure you report your $600 you received through Venmo on your side hustles, because the IRS will come after you more quickly than they'll go after a billionaire. You know why? Because the billionaire can retain high-power tax attorneys to argue their case and fight the IRS, and the IRS knows that. Me and you and our $600 in income that we got through Venmo or PayPal or whatever, when they come after you and I, they know we're easy money. The IRS knows that. You and me, we're easy money. We don't have the money to hire a high-power tax attorney, and we're going to, right, wrong, or indifferent, sometimes it's just cheaper to pay the IRS if you're audited, even if you believe you're right and they're wrong. And they know that. And they'll come after you and me. So, yeah, there's that. How much revenue has the U.S. government collected this year? So, the U.S. government has collected, in terms of taxes, revenue, $1.6 trillion this year. Now, this year they're referring to the fiscal year to date, which is since October 2024. So the federal government, since October 2024, has taken in $1.6 trillion. Perfect. What have we spent? $2.4 trillion. Okay. So how much did we overspend by? $840 billion. We've overspent. Now this is just since October 2024. We overspent $840 billion. Wow. Which, of course, leads us to our current debt pile, $36.2 trillion according to this side. Of course, if you go other places, you see $36.5 trillion. But, hey, what's $300 billion amongst friends, right? All right.